Hello.
Hello.
Hollander.
Hollander.
We are here to do a Heated Rivalry review. We watched it all. I watched it once, except I saved the finale, and then Rob got here and we watched the whole thing again, including the cottage.
Of course.
The cottage episode absolutely blew us away. And so we're here to tell you all our thoughts.
Of which there are many.
Okay, so where do we start?
Where to begin? I feel very passionately about the Kip Scott relationship. I feel like I need to talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about the Kip Scott relationship. I honestly don't think that got enough attention online. People were not talking about Kip and Scott, and that plot line to me, first of all, was a palate cleanser.
Correct.
Second of all, there was a lot of care and just like secure attachment happening that was like really, really nice to see. A lot of dialogue. There was like no questions about how they felt about each other. It was very communicative and like forward in a sexy way.
Yes, while still being like a closeted thing, while still being like a secret, still having like elements of shame in there, but the love was easy to read. The love was easy to read. It was beautiful. I really appreciated their relationship. I feel like there could have been more of an investment into Kip's life.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
On this, I totally agree.
They kind of just like hinted at these like passions that Kip has, like hinted at, like placed his little art history nuggets in there. There was like that 30-second scene where they went shopping for paintings and Scott like freaked out, which felt a little bit unnecessary. Like the freak out felt unnecessary, which I guess is the point. But anyways, I was like, I feel like I want to see more like investment given into that sweet little boy. So
yeah, because Kip starts like pretty much immediately. He's like watching all the hockey games. He's going to all the hockey games. He's like really invested in Scott. Scott says he wants him to be there when he gets home from his practice and from his game, and Kip is like, yup. But we don't actually see Scott investing in Kip's interests or his life in that same way.
Yes.
And like, of course, you know, with the secret, he's not coming around Kip's friends and things like this, but I still think there could have been more talk about like, you know, Kip sending the letters off to like the colleges and like the programs and stuff. And that feels very hush-hush too. Like there's no talk about that with Scott, and there's a lot of talk about hockey. And I wonder like what that was about. Like Kip essentially immediately was like, yes, I will move into your apartment. And then just is like staying there and lying to all his family, which he is like, this is really not right and this is really hard. I can't keep lying to people. But I want to see that equal effort being given, because it was very much about Scott and his struggle.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like right from the beginning, Kip immediately like just serves him his first smoothie and then is like, okay, this is clearly, you're a hockey player, this is what you do, this is what your passion is. I'm gonna start watching hockey because I care about you and I want to like learn about you and I want to learn about what's important to you. And I feel like the one time when that door was like slowly starting to open for Kip, like when they went art shopping, and it was like Scott expressing an interest in this passion.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I could buy some art.
Yeah, he pulled out immediately. And I just feel like that was for me, the only thing that was really disappointing in that plot line was just that like, it didn't feel equal in that sense.
Yeah, he does say, oh, I could buy some art, like trying to be interested, but then he freaks out and gets overwhelmed about being recognized or not and leaves. And that's like, okay, Kip's like very understanding about it, but then there's no like follow-up. There's no like, okay, so what can we do?
Yeah.
Which I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see like, so what? Oh, the bird on this cup matches the matcha. It's very cute. Yeah, so I would have liked to see some conversation about like, okay, what can we do? Maybe we could do like a silent like auction or like an art auction online, or even just like go to
Well, to me,
also you brought up the point he could have just said that he was like his stylist or something.
Literally, it did not need to be as dramatic as it was. Like they could have went into that art shop and he could have went in like as the famous hockey player, and it didn't have to be like, this guy is my boyfriend. It literally could have just been like, oh, this is an interior decorator. I mean, he's still lying. Like, it still would have been like the continuation of a lie about the reality that they're having, but it would have been less hurtful, I think. At least if I were in Kip's position, to me it would be less hurtful for him to be like, oh, this is a person who is like my interior decorator. I trust his opinion. He thinks I'll like this art, so we're looking for art. And it wouldn't be weird for your interior decorator to like know that that painting looks good in your bedroom, instead of being like, the second that someone approaches the two of you in a professional setting, to just like freak out and leave. And to me, I just want to say also, it feels a bit like, now that I'm thinking about it and speaking about it out loud, like that act of like saying like, oh, you like this artist? Well, let's go buy work. Almost to me feels more like I'm trying to flex that like I have money and like I can do cool things and I can do things like buy artwork, instead of this is something that you're passionate about and you're excited about, and I want to like be on that journey with you together and like learn more about this together with you. It almost, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I felt a little bit queasy about that as well, I'll be honest. I was like, I think what I will say is, well, first of all, the whole like negotiating how they're gonna go into this art shop and be in public together, I think in order for them to arrive at like something that made sense, like what you proposed, would have required like a conversation and some intentionality and a lot of communication, and like co-creating that experience together. Like being like, okay, we're gonna do this, how can we do this so that we can both stay regulated and be like feel okay in this situation, recognizing that it's edgy, recognizing that it's new. How can we like co-create an experience where we're both going to be able to stay regulated and present and enjoy this experience?
Yeah.
And like something like that would have been great.
Yeah.
And like all they did was just wear like a baseball cap and sunglasses, which just like gives to me that there was no like effort and energy put into going into that to be like, okay, how can we both take care of ourselves in this space so that neither of us freak out? Which of course, like, no one is perfect, and we all put ourselves in situations that then are quite dysregulating, but it's just an interesting thing to think like, okay, what would I have maybe wanted to see, or like what could we do differently when we're like going into those situations in our own lives, is like, okay, take that as an example of what happens when you don't communicate about your needs around going into something. Yeah. Like going into any event, you know, like how many like queer events or like parties or whatever have we all gone into and been like, yeah, I'm gonna be fine, and then get like overwhelmed and overstimulated and dysregulated once we're there. And that was just like a really good example of how, if we take those like conscious steps before we go to the thing to figure out what our needs might be and how we can like best support ourselves going in. Obviously we can never know what's actually going to happen, but if we're like, okay, I might need this, I might need, you know, to have a snack in my bag, I might need like a stim, I might need to take time to like just go breathe in the bathroom, maybe I'll like show up in this persona, or I'll use this name, or whatever it is. Like really co-creating an experience where they can like check in with each other, they have like co-regulation strategies in place, and then go.
Totally.
I think it would have been so much more successful.
Totally.
The other thing I wanted to say about the money thing was, when that happened to me too, the first time I saw it around, I was kind of like, oh, like on one hand it's giving daddy. Yeah. And it's like, I'll buy you art because I want to buy you art. I want to spoil you, because he does buy him the suit. Like he clearly does like gifts as a love language. Yeah. Which is very sweet. Tipped him very heavily at the smoothie bar. Exactly. Like he's a giver. Yeah. He's a giver. And we love that about Scott. But I wonder if maybe like that was just him being like, I actually don't know anything about this world, and I don't know how to invest in it, and this is the only way I know how, so I'm gonna offer this. And Kip is obviously like, daddy gonna buy me a painting. Yeah. Like, down for it. So I guess, like, for me, that was Scott being like, I could buy some art. Yeah. Like that kind of like classic, like, because he he is like in a very hetero world, even
Mm-hmm.
though he is queer, he's in a very hetero world. And so he does have those like kind of just like boy-isms about him where he's like, yeah, I'll do this. Like, you know, I could buy some art. As just like a trying to do a nice thing and trying to like show interest but not really knowing how. But I wonder like what it could have looked like for, like, how else could he have shown interest in that way, do you think, that would have been less like, I've got money, and more like, I care?
I mean, you're in New York City, mama. Go to an art museum.
Yeah.
Ask him to teach you about art, or it didn't even need to be in public. Like, he has all of these textbooks. They could have been like a really sweet and tender scene of him going, like, flipping through art history books and like sharing that passion, that joy, and his perspective on it. And it could have been intimate. It didn't need to be out in public, I guess. But I also totally echo what you're saying. Like, everything that you just said, I very much agree with. And also, I don't want to shit on the Scott character. I do really love the Scott character. He was way more bold, and way less like fear-based than any of the other closeted characters. Like, even just coming back to the smoothie bar and like sluttily saying his name.
Yeah,
to
that
him
was slutty.
on day 2. Like, I'm sorry, Ilya would never.
Ilya would never.
It took him 10 years to say Shane's first name. Like,
Yo.
you know what I mean? And like day 2 at the smoothie bar, lingering, doing emails, just like in hopes that a conversation happens. And then like after day 2 of meeting him, giving him seats to the game, like not just any seats, like his seats, is a move that like honestly was fierce. Was hot, was not fear-based, was like, what was really cool, you know? Yeah.
What's interesting to me too is that they do make a point to mention several times that Scott is older, right? Like, they say, like, when Ilya and Shane are texting, they say, like, he's like 100 years old or whatever.
Yes.
Like, they do comment on that a couple times, and to me that kind of, you can see that in his maturity and in the way that he's handling this. Like, he's been doing the closeted gay in the NHL, or what do they call it, the Major League Hockey, MLH. For like time. He's older. He's like
on his way out of that world, maybe too.
Yeah, and so he is taking steps that are bolder and more caring, and he's like, he doesn't leave any room for Kip to question whether or not he's into him. Like, he, you know, when they're at that event and Kip like spills all over, he could have like ignored Kip that whole night.
Yeah, totally.
He literally could have just like, he was a guest at this fundraiser and Kip was
lawn maintenance.
There's always, okay, we're in my apartment, there's literally always a man with a leaf blower. I was gonna say snow blower. There's literally always a man with a leaf blower, a lawnmower, or like some other like weed whacking hedge thing out there every morning at this time. So that's what that is. But yeah, like, he really could have just ignored him at that fundraiser. He could have been like, oh, and then, you know, if it was Ilya coded, he would have been a dickhead and then been like, oh, suck my dick.
Yeah.
But he instead was like, came over to him, made a point to talk to him, made a point to be like, that lady was rude, that like got all upset about it. And then like asked him on a date after, like literally right after, waited around for him to get off his shift. Like, he was so like, I don't want you to question that I'm into you at all.
Yeah.
And then I actually did love the scene where he was like, can I be too intense?
Yeah.
First of all, because you know that I love to be intense. That is so real. Can I be too intense is such a good question to ask a friend or a lover. But it was also, like, yeah, it was a lot. Like, that was their first night together. And he was like, I want you to be here. I want you to move in. I love you.
But at least he's aware that he was a love bomber.
It was self-aware.
It was giving self-aware.
It was very self-aware. It was also, like, clearly we can, like, I mean, we don't see it, but we can imagine that Scott's been on a journey for a while of, like, really yearning for connection and maybe being too scared to do it. And then maybe, like, what was in that year for him was just going for it.
Yeah.
It was very just ask energy. It
Yes.
was very you with the rainbow suit yesterday.
Absolutely.
For context, we went to a thrift store yesterday and Rob found this incredible matching rainbow set that fit him perfectly, but it was $50 for the top and $50 for the bottom, and we looked it up and it retails for that much. So we were like, not correct. So we were like, you know what, just ask, and he ended up getting the whole suit for $44. So it was very that. It was very like, Scott was definitely in his just ask era, and maybe Kip was like the person that he saw that he was like, I'm gonna employ this new way of doing things. I'm gonna like test this out. I've like spent a lot of time on my own and I want to test this out, and here's a person that I'm really into. I'm just gonna like see what happens.
I also feel like to build on that, because I totally agree, I feel like Kip very, very, very much so was reading as infatuated and passionate and like smitten with this man too. Like, it was not like Kip was not making it a secret that he was like really into this guy, even from like the second that he like woke up from his little slumber at the smoothie bar. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like maybe Scott also slumber at the smoothie bar. Which also, those smoothies were juices. Those smoothies were so liquidy, not to shade Kip and his smoothie making abilities, but a smoothie is thick and viscous in nature. A juice is a juice. And we need to just call a spade a spade.
That's on the props department. Like, where was the set designer?
No viscosity in sight. Where was the viscosity?
Literally, where was the props department being like, maybe this is a juice?
Perhaps this is a juice.
Especially like, yo, you add a banana to a smoothie, she creamy.
I know that would have been, if it was realness, there would have been some viscosity in that.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I said what I said. But you know what I mean? Like, yes, it was intense, but I also feel like he was, like, Kip's character did a really good job at reading that he was open to the intensity, and that he was also like, it was cute because you could tell, obviously the context like was that Kip knew that Scott's character was closeted, and there's obviously going to be more, I think there's fear from Kip's character to like attach on to someone who is closeted. Like, you don't want to invest and like fall so heavily for someone who's never going to be able to reciprocate for you. So in a way, it was almost like a really fierce act of love for Scott to be like, no, this is real and I'm going to be really intense, but like, I'm going to make it possible for you to love me by extending this like invitation into my life, which again, Shane and Ilya could never.
Oh.
Shane and Ilya could never.
Yeah.
And so yes, it was intense, but I'm here for it.
I actually really love that we started this conversation going in on Scott and Kip, because no one else I have not seen people talking about that plotline nearly enough. And
Season 2, we need more.
Yeah, we definitely need more. I also want to talk about the women that have really supported these characters through the show to like come out and feel safe and like move away from fear, because, and staying with the Scott and Kip plotline, like, first of all, I am so team Elena.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to kiki with Elena and
Amen.
just like sit and chat shit for ages, but she is so real for the way she's so supportive of Kip but also critical.
Yeah.
And the moment where she talks to Scott is like very pivotal.
Absolutely. It is the changing moment for Scott where he's like, oh shit, like, this is a person who has a world outside of me. Because also,
that part.
And that also is relating to like the whole Scott not being invested in Kip's passion. Like, up until that point, like, Kip's interests are 100% revolving around Scott's interests and his world. And he needed for an external friend to come in, like one of Kip's friends to come in and be like, hey, just so that you know, Kip is actually sacrificing a lot to be with you. And like, yes, you're great, and yes, you make him happy, but like, this is a whole person who has an entire universe of people outside of you and interests outside of you and people that deeply care about him, including me. And you're making it hard for him to keep those connections. And that was like a huge moment where Scott was like, okay, if I love that to me was absolutely the moment where Scott was like, if I love this person, I either need to get on board or get out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was very that. And that's all her.
Yeah, that was Elena.
Dream blunt rotation. Elena, you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so real, and it's I think too, like, I don't know, what do you think? I have a sense that Kip knew what Elena was doing when she asked him to dance.
Absolutely.
Like, I definitely, like, he was standing there just waiting. He probably didn't know to the extent, but I have a sense that based on Elena's character and their relationship, Kip was like, yeah, sure, go off. Because he seemed like so desperate at that point, because he literally, you know, you see it in him, and he mentions it a couple times, like, he's like really struggling to like hold both of his lives. And I think you just said it really, really well. Like, Scott was seeing Kip as his lover, and not seeing him as a whole person with a whole universe and a whole life and all these other people that really care about him. And it felt like his peripherals like really opened up at that point, and he was like, oh, right, I need to invest in this or I might lose it.
Yeah. There's also that thing where it's like, I'm sure that Scott's character, I mean, like you said, he's been in that hockey, the character has been a professional hockey player for years at that point. Like, he is used to being the center of his universe, and like everything being focused and centered on him. And like,
okay, we sincerely apologize for the lawn mowing situation that's happening, but we're just gonna keep going. I did want to mention too that in Scott's speech at that event where Elena calls him to dance, he talks about how the hockey community is his family, and Kip reads that as like, yeah, you don't want to lose your family, etc., which is maybe how it seemed for Scott in the past. But for me, I almost read that as him realizing that if these people are his family, they will accept him.
oh,
Like, that felt like a moment where he was like, these people are my family, I've been given this family, blah, 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 blah. And then he chooses to come out, right? Because he's kind of having this moment of like, okay, I want this person, the person being Kip, to be part of my world, to be part of my family, and these people are my family, so I actually do need to bring them together. Like, we don't hear much about Scott's family, or anything at all, actually. We don't hear anything about, like, Scott doesn't have any other friends or family members that get introduced.
His parents died, right? His parents definitely died in a car crash. That's like why he has the car. That's why he has a charity, I think. They died from like a drunk driving thing.
Right. His parents aren't around, but he doesn't have any other family members.
No.
And no other friends. So Kip is like the closest
world.
thing essentially to him. Like, that is his family, and he's kind of being like, okay, like, it's like him coming out at that game is like his way of, you know, it's like equivalent to Shane coming out to his parents. It's
yes.
Like, it feels very like that, although obviously bigger scale in different contexts. But yeah, it just felt like his moment of like, this is my family, this is my person, I'm bringing these worlds together.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. All right, hold on, Dora. Should we talk about Shane and Ilya?
I think that we must.
Should we just have a moment for Connor's story?
Oh. God love that man. Wow.
Although his character did piss me off a bit. But, and that might be a hot take because I know everybody's obsessed, but there was parts where I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, we've seen enough of the like avoidant attachment style, just being a dick and not having any repercussions. But anyway, let's start from episode 1.
Yes. The water tease, I feel like you had a good point about this last night. I need to pop off.
So I was talking last night because we're kind of on a smut theme of the week, and so we watched Baby Girl because Rob had never seen it. And in Baby Girl, the film with Nicole Kidman that came out last year, there are many points before they start engaging in a dynamic where he tests her obedience by like sending her the glass of milk and texting her to come to the office and leaving her a note, those things. Like, he was testing whether she was willing to play, like testing her obedience. And we see that from episode 1, and it's very subtle, but we see that Ilya testing Shane in the gym scene where he's like prompting him to take water, and Shane is like, no, and he's like, and then he takes it, and then there's like a moment where their hands touch over the water bottle. it's very heated. And you get the
Very
foreshadowing.
heated.
Yeah, and you get the foreshadowing of their feet kind of like this but not touching. Whereas in a couple, you know, however long it is, probably like a couple years, because their 10-year timeline is so wild. But there's that interview after they've been fucking where their feet are kind of touching. To me, that was a foreshadowing moment. But there are like a couple times where Ilya is testing Shane's obedience and like the will you play type thing that I find really, really beautiful, because it is kind of that moment of like, first of all, they don't know
Tony, why you gotta do this?
First of all, that is so classic with queer people to
Yes.
like need to find a way to like subtly test the waters without like outwardly coming out and saying, are you gay?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, this is very, very gay men behavior, like very cruising 101, especially like the foot play of it all, like the toe tapping of it all. This is very cruising behavior. If you know, you know. If you don't know what cruising is, Google it.
Wait, people might not know what cruising is.
Okay, cruising is the act of traditionally of gay men finding other gay men to hook up with in public anonymously. And so it's through like very subtle signals. Often it would be like at a sauna, at a gym, at a park, at a nude beach. And like, especially if you're in like a change room type setting, this like idea of toe tapping is like very, very, very much a signal that like, oh, this person is down for that. Like this idea of like tapping your toes or like touching toes with someone. Also those like subtle eye contact moments that they have of like catching a gaze, sustaining a gaze, leaving the gaze, and then returning to the gaze is like a very, very like classic cruising signal to just be like, oh, I'm into this. And like it alludes to that like kink anonymous like just spontaneous hookup vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it felt very real. Like that gym scene felt like, oh, that's for sure what's happening. And it also felt like, oh, Ilya, you've done this before.
Yeah.
It felt very like you've done this before. Did
you pick up on any of the things? Because for me, the water thing was the first time where I was like, okay, he's testing his obedience. Did you pick up on anything prior to that between them that Shane was like signaling at all?
I don't think so, but remember like this is another major thing that I think that we need to discuss, and I'm so glad you asked this question. In the book, which I don't read books, I have not read this book, but I have been told.
You know what's so funny? None of my besties read, and I am such a crazy reader, and it's so opposites attract vibe. Like, it's so funny.
I promise I'm literate, I just don't enjoy reading.
You read other mediums, like you're
Correct.
Very literate in things that I know nothing about.
Thank you so much. But I've been told that in the book it is like very, very much a plot line. And like a part of the character that Shane is actually autistic.
This was major for me. I did not have that information because
Yes.
I hadn't read the book either. And so I had watched episodes 1 to 5 by myself. And then when Rob came, I hadn't seen the cottage. And we started them from episode 1 because Rob had only seen episode 1 and 2. So we just started them all again. And when Rob told me that in the books Shane is autistic, it actually reframed the entire character for me. And I'm seeing things so differently that he was doing. Like, I really got a sense of the autism of it all throughout. And it gives you so much more understanding of Shane's character.
Yes.
I just thought he was kind of like a fumbly, like nervous boy, but it actually makes so much sense.
Yes, especially just like how subtle a lot of like these cues are, these communication things are, these body language cues that are being thrown around. I do think that like Shane missed a lot of them, and maybe that's also why like it took them 10 fucking years to get to the point where they were like actually exploring some real intimacy, whereas like the Scott and Kip's characters were like able to maybe this is exactly what I'm saying, like in the smoothie bar all of that shit would have went right over Shane's head.
That's actually tea.
Whereas like in that smoothie bar, like Kip was able to very quickly read like, oh, this person is like communicating to me and putting signals out. And Scott was like, oh, this person is receiving these signals, is sending them back. And it allowed that intimacy in that relationship to progress a lot faster. So to answer your original question, no, I don't think that Shane's character was like communicating with like those subtle signs. I think that he was honestly oblivious to a lot of the signs that Ilya was putting out.
He
I
also
think he was just
didn't
horny
have an
for him.
Elena to back up and like validate that he was giving signals.
Yes.
Like Kip had Elena literally sitting behind him watching the whole thing,
being like,
that
girl,
was that was that.
Girl. Like that was what was happening.
Yeah.
So I think that that's like a whole part of that dynamic that is important.
And so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so interesting. Okay, what did you think of the shower scene?
Oh, hot. So hot.
I've never been in a men's bathroom, so I really want to know if that was realistic.
That's realness. Well,
like for those of us that have never been in a men's shower experience.
yes. Okay. So if you mean like the question of like, is it just like a room with like showers and like a tiled room and showers where dudes are naked? The answer is yes. Like that is realness. Like,
yeah, I'm wondering if that type of thing would actually like happen though.
Yes. So okay, disclaimer.
Like the cruising in the shower is what I'm wondering about.
This is what I'm about to say. So disclaimer. Obviously not a professional athlete.
Professional thrifter though.
Professional thrifter, correct. But I feel like there's a lot of ways that I can answer that. Cruising in showers, cruising in gym showers, cruising in fitness spaces showers, very much a thing, very much realness. Definitely like the eye contact, the looking up and down is very much a thing. But I also do feel like the idea of, and this is also maybe why I'm like, this was not their first time. Like the idea, especially in men's hockey, like if you grow up playing men's hockey in Canada, I'm sorry, but like you are no stranger to homoerotic behavior in the change room.
Oh wait, oh my god.
Which is an entire other conversation, but like those hockey boys be like, I'm telling you, they are butt naked in those change rooms and they're like touching dicks to each other's bodies and like just like doing like homoerotic things, but like it's not gay if you don't get hard.
It's the weird way that hyper masculinity and like machoism, machismo. Wait, you have an eyelash on your nose.
Aw, make a wish.
Oh my god, wait, it's still there. Okay. Cute. Yeah, so it's the way that like the toxic masculine and like hyper masculinity, they almost perform homoeroticism and like being gay to prove how straight they are.
Yes.
It's like we're gonna make out when we're drunk and like fuck around in the change room and touch tips and smack each other's asses and like all this stuff and act really gay and say really like gay things, which like wonderful, but the point of them doing that is to like prove how straight they are, which is so whack.
I also feel like I need to mention that one of the ways that they validate themselves by doing that and like by like it not being weird is that there is like a joint camaraderie like in men's sports, specifically hockey, about like ganging up and putting down gay people and like using gay as a slur and like F-bombs. Like what I'm trying to say is it like validates them to like act homoerotically with each other, to be like by being like, oh, but like that fag or so and so is such a fag, or this so and so, you know what I mean? Like there's just like there's a deep culture of homophobia in men's sports, specifically hockey, that I feel like allows them to act homoerotically. Like, it's a weird thing where it's like, by being homophobic, it allows them to be homoerotic without it being gay. For real. And also, like, creates that cycle of, like, no one in professional men's hockey comes out, no one in you know, like, it's just a thing. It's like, it's a culture where, like, queerness is not allowed to enter because, it is so, like...
It's like, if you make queerness the butt of the joke every single time,
yes,
you're creating an environment where
we're all co-signing that we're not queer.
Queerness is, we are all co-signing that we're not queer because queer is the joke.
Yes.
And so if you come out, you're actually the joke.
Yes.
And so you don't come out.
Yes. And so since we've all co-signed that, like, queerness is a joke, queerness becomes funny. So homoerotic behavior becomes funny and becomes, like, the norm in locker rooms. And and it's just like, so that cosign is super real. And I, like, yes, I am not a hockey player. Yes, I am not, like, that is not my world, but I feel very comfortable saying that, like, that is a real experience, like, across the board, especially, like, in youth sports, like in youth competitive, like, hockey. I feel like that is very much a standard. So that, like, hockey room scene, I honestly think that, like, it was the intense penetrating gaze that brought it.
And we know he likes to be the whole.
Oh yes, that brought it to something else. But, like, just to, like, the idea of, like, cruising and, like, homoerotic behavior in the locker room, totally, I think, realistic.
Yeah, so it was kind of what you said before. It was like the gaze down,
yes,
the gaze back up.
Yes.
And then when Shane says, why did I say Luke? When Shane says, not here.
Yeah.
That's an interesting moment because that's a moment where he's clearly picking up on a signal. And
yes,
then he's like, not here, which indicates that, like, not never, just not here. But then he switches in the locker room after, and Ilya's like, he's like, we can't do that. And he's like, are you sure?
Yeah.
And, like, that whole thing.
Yeah. Definitely. Very that.
And so how do they progress from there? Like,
it's like, come to my hotel room.
Yeah, okay. It's after the hockey scene is the first time they hook up. Let's talk about this.
Yes, because it was the weird thing where, like, they both came in, like, 30 seconds, which, love that for them, but Ilya was like, you came so fast. And I was like, hey, babe, like, you just finished in, like, 30 seconds.
Ilya literally took the same amount of time, and then Shane was apologizing. And it was like, wait, what? And Ilya was like, ho, like, rookie, like, whatever. I mean, not really, but, like, kind of. Like, he didn't shame him for it, but it was like, you came too fast. And it was like, wait a second, we both just, like, lasted 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I really liked the moment before where Ilya pushes him against the wall, and, like, he, like, just gets there, and he's like, this is a bad idea, blah, 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 blah. It's really hot, but they're also communicating. He's like, have you done this before? No. Have you done this before? Yes, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's some communication there and some dialogue, and it's a bit clunky, and I really, really appreciate that. And I appreciate that we're starting to see this in media more and more. Is like, it's not just what we've seen historically of, like, someone gets pushed up against a wall and then everybody's clothes off and then it's done and we're just like, oh, that was great.
Yes.
It's like, we're actually getting to see more of the, like, clunkiness, the, like, talking, the, like, time it actually takes to get into an experience.
The will we, won't we?
Yeah, all of it. We're getting to see it so that it's really normalizing it for people that, like, okay, it does, like, take a bit to get there, you know. We're not all just, like, spontaneously aroused all the time. And spontaneous desire style is very, very rampant in the, like, assumptions in gay male culture. And I'm
Correct.
sure you can speak to this. The, like, assumption that everybody's always, like, down to fuck all the time.
I mean, yes.
I mean, yeah.
Why, yes. That also is kind of real. I mean, it's not everyone's experience, but, like, it definitely is. I also think that I could speak about that whole, like, anonymous hookup culture and just, like, fast hookup culture, and, like, easy hookup culture a lot. I think that, like, I think that an experience that is surrounded or rooted in sexual repression, or, like, radical sexual repression, does lead to sexual liberation and radical sexual liberation, which like can express itself as just like anonymous hookups where it's like we are just exploring like sexual pleasure right now, without it being like romantic. I think that is like definitely a huge part of the queer experience. Not everybody's queer experience, but like yeah.
Queer men.
Queer men for
lesbians
sure.
do not be like that.
No, gay men are different in that
But
way.
I
for
do
sure.
have a lot of gay male clients that struggle with this assumption that gay men are just like always down to fuck, because a lot of people actually do have a more responsive desire style that need time and need for their desire to be like in response to something rather than just being like turned on and ready to fuck all the time.
Yeah.
And it, like, while we see Shane and Ilya like in a more like it's like immediate when they get together, like usually one of them just like kisses the other and then they start as soon as they get there. I do want to point out that like while that might seem like it's a spontaneous desire style in the sense that they're like getting there and then immediately fucking, it actually has been coming from like 8 to 10 months each time of build up.
Yes.
Right? And like we know that eroticism comes from like anticipation. And like that's one of the cornerstones of eroticism is like building anticipation. And so while it may seem like those hookups are spontaneous and fast, they've actually been foreplaying for like 8 to 10 months. And we see that in their texts, and we see that in the glances that they give each other on the rink.
Yes.
And we like see this build up. And Ilya even says it one time in one of the episodes. He's like, I'm not going to suck your dick now, but then after the game and after the party and when you get back and you've been thinking about it all night, then I might do more than suck your dick. That is like him continuing to build the anticipation. And like these babes have had literally 10 years of like building anticipation, which is why it seems so like explosive.
Yes.
But it actually is like a lot of attention and time and energy and care going into building that connection.
I think that you're so right. I think that they do a really good job at showing that slow burn that you're talking about.
Sequences.
I love it. I think it's so important, and like to even further emphasize like exactly what you're saying, like they showed this like every beginning of the hockey season there is like a 2-second clip where like one of the characters looks at like the game schedule, the game calendar for the year, and it's like, oh, Boston plays Montreal, and they're texting like, see you September 19th. You know what I mean? Like there's like a clear reference that like at the beginning of the hockey season, every hockey season, they are looking at that like game calendar and being like, when are we in the same city? And so yeah, you're right. Like it manifests spontaneously, but it is not. Like they are consciously aware of when they are going to be in each other's orbits and like clearly capitalizing on that.
Yeah. I also want to mention that the first time they hook up, they don't have penetrative sex.
Yes.
Crazy. We still consider it sex, even though it wasn't penetrative sex. And that is a major thing that a lot of people think we didn't have sex if it wasn't penetrative sex. But that first time they hook up is, first of all, Shane's first experience with a boy.
Yeah.
Ilya has had experiences with men in the past, but that still was a sex scene, right? They like had intimacy, they negotiated, they checked in along the way, like all of the things were present for that to be sex. There was pleasure, there was like
dom sub dynamics.
Exactly. Yeah, it was beautiful. And then when they try to have penetrative sex and Shane's like, no, not right now, Ilya's very receptive to it and is fine. And then when they actually do have it, there's some conversation about it. And I love the moment where he's like, I'm trying to tell you I have a thing. Because when you told me that, you know, he was autistic, that reframed that scene so much for me, where he was like because he's like, I'm trying to tell you something. And it's like Ilya being playful and like not really listening and like joking around. And then he's like, listen, I'm trying to tell you something. I have a big purple dildo.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if he says it's purple, but in my mind, it's like that horrible sex toy purple.
Yes,
Just like,
we all know. If you know, you know.
Exactly. But that was just a really cute thing for us to understand, like, okay, Shane might be new to hooking up with men, but like clearly is aware of his pleasure and where it comes from, which I want to point out is badass, because a lot of men, especially when you're in a hyper masculine, very heteronormative world, you're terrified to explore anal pleasure.
Correct.
Like that is a major thing that a lot of men, they just like, I don't have any experience. I don't have any pleasure in my anus. I don't have any anal pleasure or interest in that. They're terrified to explore themselves. They're very terrified to let female partners explore because essentially and it's completely, it's completely not true and it's not real, but like the perception is that if you enjoy anal pleasure, then you're gay.
Yes.
And so within that like hockey world, for him to have explored on his own that he enjoys anal pleasure, gone out and gotten a toy to self-pleasure, is actually him like, I just think that's really wonderful to see that he's like genuinely exploring his pleasure in that way.
I completely agree, and I also think it's not even like remarkable. It is remarkable, but it's even more remarkable because that's not even a thing just exclusive to straight men. Like I think that idea of like gay men fearing like anal pleasure often is very real too. And like I think that there's such a there's a lot of internalized misogyny in the gay community for sure. And a lot of men who are like, oh, I'm gay, but I only top. Or I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I'm gay, but I never bottom. And like that's like a very like thing of pride. Like there's no connection to that like pleasure sector, which is totally can be valid. Like not everyone needs to experience pleasure in that way. But it definitely is like you're saying, like shout out to him for getting that dildo, because a lot of even gay men, like openly gay men who are in these grinder streets, aren't doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's almost like, as you said, this like pride thing. It's like, I'm gay, but I'm not that gay.
Exactly.
Like that kind of vibe.
It's the internalized misogyny. It's like, oh, if I'm in the submissive, if I'm in the receiving, there's like, yeah, there a lot of people will put like a value on that, and it totally is. It's misogyny. It's misogyny to like put yourself as like to put a value on being on the receiving end of that pleasure.
Yeah. I want to talk about the scene where they're in Russia and Ilya is stonewalling Shane. I really want to talk about this because this actually really annoyed me, mostly just because I'm really over the normalizing of like tops or like the dominant person in a relationship being allowed to be avoidant and stonewall the other person, and then the other person in the relationship just like being there when they're ready to stop acting like that.
Yeah.
Like I actually just don't have time for that. I just find it really, like on one hand, I want to hold so much compassion for what Ilya was going through and like empathize with that. And on the other hand, I'm sick of excusing that, specifically in men.
Yeah.
Specifically in like the dom role, or like the more, the more dom role in a relationship, or like the masculine in the relationship, whoever the genders are, the masculine person, the masked person, being avoidant and being like, well, I just get to get away with it. Like I just really don't think we can keep accepting that.
Yeah.
And it really bothered me that there was no apology, there was no acknowledgement of that. Like Shane tries to acknowledge it in the bathroom after that. I think it's like a couple years later after that, where they see each other at another event and Shane's like, what the fuck do you want? What the fuck do you want from me, Rosanov?
Yeah.
And then he's just like starting to be sexy again, and then Shane is like crying because he's our like sweet boy, and he's just like crying but also like going with it because he just wants him so bad and wants his attention. And there is no acknowledgement of like the literal probably months to years in between that Shane's just been like, what the fuck? And like we all know how that feels to be like in a connection with someone and then to be stonewalled and then to be ghosted. Like you literally, like you think about it, it hurts. Like it's not just like oh whatever, I'll continue on with my life. Like I think we also forget that because they're men, they have these feelings because there's this belief that like men don't feel the things in the same way. But that's actually not true. Like imagine Shane going through those months to years and being like, what the fuck happened? What did I say? Like blah, 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 blah.
That poor autistic man was so confused.
Exactly. He like goes up to see him in Russia and he's just like, fuck you, and stonewalls him. And then like months go by and then they see each other at another event and Ilya's just acting like it didn't happen. And to me, that was really not cool. And I wanted justice for Shane. I really wanted a recognition that behavior was not okay. And it happens a couple times. And we can see that Ilya is dealing with stuff, but it's like, to me, it's just like, I don't know, I'm really over excusing men for acting avoidant and shitty because they're dealing with stuff. We're all dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
Shane's dealing with stuff. You know, it's the same with Scott and Kip. Like, Kip had a whole world outside of Scott. Shane has a whole life outside of this whole thing. We're all dealing with stuff all the time. And to act that way and not have any sort of like conversation or addressing of it just continues to be like, yeah, men are just avoidant and they don't communicate and we have to just accept that. And that's actually like, we don't have to accept it. Men do need to communicate. If men are avoidant, they need to not be, or they need to take the steps to learn how to not be. Like, attachment styles are very real, but there's a lot of resources that we can like learn how to communicate better with our people. And I think there could have been a really good opportunity to showcase what that could have looked like.
I completely agree. And also shout out to our sweet boy Shane, because like there was that one moment after the tuna melts when they're making love, or well, I think they were frauding, which also frauding representation.
I love the frauding representation.
Frauding representation is real.
I don't think I've ever seen that in media.
Never, me neither. But that moment when the first time when Ilya uses Shane's real name and Shane freaks out, stonewalls him and leaves. And then like months later, Shane actually does try to like have a conversation about it. He like actually like, you can tell that he felt bad for the way that he detached in that moment, and like that he like just like walked out on Ilya and left him confused and left him like, maybe for all that Shane knows, like maybe hurt, maybe damaged. He like tried to get he tried to make that situation right. He tried to like find accountability, and then again Ilya kept being like, what do you mean? You're boring. What do you mean? What are you talking about? And then that's when he goes and pursues the relationship with Rose.
Yeah.
Because he was like trying to like at the very least like close the chapter or get some kind of acknowledgement about like what from Ilya about like, hey, like I'm sorry that I pulled away, but you felt that energy too, right? Like something changed. And Ilya was stonewall like, no, there was no energy, there is nothing, like all that this is sex, when it clearly was not. And so like Shane pulled away, Shane tried to come back, tried to have a conversation, tried to acknowledge what that energy change was, and Ilya was continuing to stonewall him, continuing to not want to like talk about the elephant in the room, which was their relationship. And that's like what made Shane go and try to pursue this other relationship with a woman.
Yeah.
Which again, we're gonna need to talk about Rose at some point, because another woman who fiercely steps up and supports our king. Like,
she's also in our joint rotation.
Absolutely. Blunt rotation. Rose, you're right in there with that other girl, I can never remember her name. Elena and Rose, join me in the afters, queens, because we have shit to talk.
Yeah.
But that's real.
Yeah, you're right. And it's the difference between Ilya, and men do this a lot, right? Like they act really stonewally, they act really avoidant, and then they use sex to kind of like hop over the conversation that needs to be had about the behavior. They just decide to use sex to like distract you or try to make you forget that happened. And then you like, obviously, you as the collective you, not you, but you as the collective you, like obviously in that moment, if you're like really turned on and really want this person, then your desire overtakes your logic and you like get into the sex, and then the conversation never happens. And that's a pattern I feel like we see all the time in rom-coms and media. And so Shane coming back and trying to have the conversation and continuing to be like, no, this is just sex, is, yeah, it's a very different approach to Ilya, and I'm still annoyed at that character for that.
Yeah.
That said, he does get better as we see him age and progress. Like he does start to open up and start to talk to Shane. But that hotel scene that you're talking about, where Shane tries to come in and talk to him, and then he's like stonewalling him, and then he comes over and sits on the bed and then starts kind of opening up a bit about his family, and then starts crying, and they have like an intimate moment, and Shane ends up holding him. Very, like, that's one of the first times we see like genuine like vulnerability from Ilya, and I think it's really important and a pivotal moment for their relationship. But it did just kind of become about Ilya. It did. Like we still didn't get that accountability for the way he treated Shane. It did just become about Ilya. Also, like, weird thing that I'm like having an interesting time with is the way that North American media, and this is Canadian media, right? Like our taxpayer dollars did pay for this media, gay hockey porn.
Gay dollars.
Yes.
More gay tax dollars.
We love. But it's so interesting that like, it's for some reason media, like the Russian is always like quote unquote like evil or bad. And like I just find it so, obviously it's realistic there's a Russian hockey player playing in North America, that makes a lot of sense, but
Correct.
It's just interesting that his family was made out to be so evil, and like his brother was evil, and like, you know, he's talking about how he gives so much money and he just gives and gives and gives, and they just take and take and take. And that was a really interesting choice, that the family is just like evil and he actually just wants to leave Russia because it's bad and he hates it there and he wants to move to Canada. It was very Canadian propaganda, right?
Yeah.
Like that was really interesting. And I think this feeds into the belief globally that Canada is just this like haven and we don't have any problems. And that was like, it was very propaganda for me. Just that whole moment. I mean, like, to be real, like, yes, you cannot be gay in Russia. Like, that is a fact. So
Yes.
It does make a lot of sense that that was part of it. But like the extension of like his brother being evil and things, it just felt very propagandistic. Is that a word?
Sure.
And yeah, I'm wondering why that needed to be in it. Maybe just as a prompt for him to move. Like maybe just as a prompt for him to leave. But yeah, I don't know. I just had to say that.
I agree. I think I totally agree with what you're saying, but I do think that there is an element of realness to there. And I also think that when I'm saying realness, I think that there's a big element of consequence of coming out that is like really huge for Ilya's character. And he even mentions it one time where he's like, because Shane wasn't really understanding why he can't come out, and he was like, well, like if I come out, like I cannot go back to Russia. I cannot move back to where I'm from. I can never see my family again. And so I do think like sometimes in gay and queer media, there's an idea where it's like, there are no consequences to coming out. They're all in your head. They're all anxiety. And like once you do it, you're just ripping off the Band-Aid and like life gets better. And you know what? Like life does get better. That is true. But it is also true that there are real consequences. And like, I think had the characters been two Canadian characters, that wouldn't have been the same. Where it's like, oh, just come out because the worst thing that will happen is like, people are mean to you and they maybe your teammates maybe bully you and you don't like click the vibe the same way as you do. Like that's kind of the consequence if it's like two Canadian players. But I do appreciate that like they give Ilya's characters like some actually like pretty intense and pretty real stakes to coming out, and it like does maybe like emphasize why pride is important, why representation is important, why, you know what I mean? Like representation for gay people in Russia. Cause like, newsflash, there are gay people in Russia, you know what I mean? So I do agree that there is like some propaganda of being like, especially with like the oligarch family of it all being like, Russia enemy.
Yeah.
Comrade, not comrade, enemy.
Very bad.
But I do think that it was important to like portray that, you know what, like for a lot of people in this world, the consequences of coming out are not just losing a few friends. It's like being criminalized in your home country and never being able to see family members again, maybe never being able to have a job where you're born, because that is like a true reflection of the world that we live in.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, that it is immense privilege, and we can forget this living in places like Canada, Australia. I don't even want to say the States because there's a lot of consequences to being queer living in the States. So I'm going to say that like based on this being Canadian media, and we're in Australia right now, and these two places, it's actually like quite safe in most communities, in most cities, specifically more urban centers, to come out and be queer and actually live like a relatively normal meaning like you have your needs met life.
Yeah.
And there's not like major like hierarchy of needs shifting
You're not being fired from your job. You're not being exiled from your communities.
Exactly. But in most of the world, and it's easy for us to forget, right? But in most of the world, being queer is still in 2026 not something that is possible, accessible, that you can live like an unshaken life. Like your life will get rocked. There will be serious real world consequences. And I think it's really important to remember that, especially when, you know, we're in our queer communities and we just feel so safe and cozy, and we forget that there's actually like most of the world that is not a reality.
Yeah.
It's so important. Oh yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Also, speaking of Russia and Russian characters in this show, we need to shout out
Svetlana. I love
Most Valuable Woman number 3.
Yeah.
Cause like
yeah.
Number 2, which we haven't really talked about the Rose plotline, and like how sweet and tender and how like gentle she was in telling Shane that like, hey mate, like have you thought about you being gay? Like that I think we could talk about for a while as well. But yeah, Svetlana, Most Valuable Woman number 3.
Yeah, she's in our blunt rotation too.
Get in that blunt rotation, Svetlana.
She's so hot, first of all.
So
like,
fierce.
Oh my fucking God. I really love
And a good friend.
Yeah, I really love their relationship where it's like romantic platonic, you know, like it's really beautiful to know that they've like grown up together and to watch them grow together and to watch them like be in each other's lives. I was a bit confused. Does she like also live in Boston and in Russia? Like she was in both places a lot of times.
I think so.
Yeah, like she must have gone back and forth too.
She gives oligarch.
Or like, maybe she would just like visit him.
Oh, well, maybe she's an American. She might have I think that maybe they were trying to allude to her having American citizenship, because remember Ilya's character at one point was like, oh, I could just marry Svetlana to stay here. So obviously like she is Russian, but like obviously her character is meant to have some kind of like access to because her grandfather was an American hockey player, so maybe like she was born, maybe her mom or her was born in America, but obviously she's Russian. Anyways, like she definitely has like an American tie.
Yeah, but she does, remember she shows up at his apartment unexpected one time, and like there are a couple moments like that, so she's in both places.
Correct.
But anyway, yeah, I just love how their relationship is like all love, no strings attached, and like even when he's having his like breakdown on the phone and he's talking about like when he's speaking in Russian and Shane can't understand what he's saying, and he's saying like, I have no one, that's not true, I have Svetlana, and she's like, I love you, and he's like, I love you, and they have like a very loving relationship, but she knows ultimately, and you see her progressively know more and more that he's texting this Jane person. And the moment for me when she was like Jane, but then he hims Jane.
Yes.
Was just so beautiful, because she was just so like, I know you love me, but like, go.
Yeah.
Like, go. And she knows that like ultimately like she would be the safe choice for him, and she wants him to be happier than that. And I just, I love her.
She's a real one.
She's
All
so
of
hot.
these women characters, they are real ones.
Yeah. Let's talk about Rose.
Let's talk about Rose. Justice for Rose.
Yeah. I really, first of all, I have to say, as fellow Montrealers, we fucking loved her Saint Viateur t-shirt.
Representation.
That was so fun. The way we used to get home from the queer party covered in makeup and go and get 3 bagels from Saint Viateur
Absolutely.
at 3 a.m.
3 bagels and a thing of hummus.
Yeah,
It'll do a girl right.
Do you remember that white fish spread?
Of course. Of course.
So good. Nothing like a Saint Viateur bagel at 3 a.m. when you're still kind of drunk. So good. Anyway, yeah, loved her. Thought that they handled their dynamic really well. I loved seeing the like little moments of Ilya being like, what the fuck is this, and kind of jealous.
Yeah.
And I loved seeing Shane like very happily kind of just going along with it, but also like that conversation where they have the dinner and she's like clearly clocked it, because it's talked about they had tried to have sex a couple times and it didn't work, and he's like, sorry, I think I'm just stressed or whatever, and she's like, it's okay. And then they have that dinner. I think she handled that really, really well, that conversation. Agree. She's clearly, and she mentions this, that because she was in theater school, she's had lots of gay boyfriends, so she's like, I'm not surprised by this. She can clearly like pick up on it. and she handled it very gently. You could tell he was like squeamish. I loved the way she like permissioned him and prompted him to like say the thing, because she's like, have you ever said this to anybody before? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really cute. I really love the square peg in a round hole analogy. I really, really loved that. I really, really loved the turns out I like to be the hole.
Yes!
What did you think about that conversation?
I thought it was really, I echo everything that you're saying. I think that it was very sweet. I think it was very gentle. I loved that she like held him to it. She was like, you know, like she didn't let him weasel his way out, you know what I mean? Or avoid the conversation. She was like, she kept interrogating him in a very kind and gentle way.
When she says, I know you like talking to me, do you like kissing me?
Yes.
And he says, sure. That was genius. That was so good.
Also, the moment for me when she was like, have you been with a guy before? Yes. Did you like it? Yes. But the big one was it better than it was with me?
Was it better?
Was it better? The was it better was like, oh, I feel like that was a brave question for her to ask, because I'm sure that like in some way maybe like hurt a little bit to like have that information. But I also feel like it was important for Shane's character to realize like, oh, I'm gay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, she fucking rocks.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what prompted him to come to Ilya and be like, I'm completely gay.
And also shout out to her being like, I know I'm the only one that you have talked to in your life about this, and I just because our relationship is ending, like, I'm still here for you. And being like, please talk to me. Like, I know that, like, I'm probably the only one you can talk to about this right now. Like, she's a queen. She's an absolute queen.
Yeah, I love that their relationship continues, and I really love that we get to see the continuation of their relationship. Like, we get that phone call when Shane's at the cottage and she's like at work or whatever. We get to see that they've actually kept in touch, and that was really, really sweet and dear to me.
Yeah.
Because he like actually up until that point didn't have anyone else to talk to about it, and the way she normalized it, and she was like, yeah, like it was better. And then like holds him to like staying vulnerable and staying in communication is really, really beautiful.
Yeah. The women characters rock. It just like, to me, it reads really clearly that like, you can see that this series was written by a woman who probably like has experience, like been the woman in these situations and like knows what it's maybe like to be like a woman supporting a queer man through this. I
also love that the way that the women handle each of the different situations comes from a place of like self-confidence and being secure enough in their selves that they know that it's not a default in them that the man doesn't want them.
Agreed.
Like, that is something we also don't see a lot of in media, is like usually it's like the woman is hurt and is like, how could you do this to me?
Which can be valid, you know what I mean? Like, to be blindsided and hurt, but
it can be valid, but
to have that intelligence,
how could you do this to me part is really like what we see a lot, and it's actually like so not fair. If you've ever supported someone through a transition, or you know, like if your partner is like navigating changes in a relationship, to not make it about you is really, really beautiful and takes a lot of work. Like, you can see that these characters have done a lot of work on like recognizing, like, it's very removal of the ego, and like that is love, right? Like the M. Scott Peck quote about love being extending yourself for the purpose of another's growth. That is actually what that is. Like, we don't see love as dependency or ownership in this show. We see love as like fostering an environment for the nurturance of another's growth, and that is so fucking beautiful. Yeah. Shout out to our female characters. Oh, I would love to chat shit with all of them.
Amen.
Should we talk about the cottage?
We need to talk about the cottage. I'm going to the cottage.
Oh, okay. So right after Scott comes out, Ilya calls and says, "I'm coming to the cottage. I'm 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 And then, okay, first of all, how Canadiana was that cottage? Listen, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
If you know Canadian, particularly Ontario and Quebec, cottage country.
Whatever it is.
You're doing the most. Where's my loon? I have a loon somewhere.
Loon representation.
It was, if you know Ontario and Quebec cottage country, like that was literally, it was so nice to see on screen.
It was realness.
Yeah, it was realness. Picking him up from the airport and he's in his little sunglasses and they're doing their little holding hands thing. It was just so sweet. What do you have to say about the cottage?
It was so, okay. I think that it was really important that they started their cottage trip with Shane being like, can we try something? While we're here, can we be honest with each other 100% about like what we're thinking and what we're feeling? I think that set the tone.
I actually
for
forgot
safety.
about that. You're so right.
Yeah, because like you could tell that there was like when it was sweet when they got picked up from the airport, but there was still that like caginess almost, or like that like wanting to self-protect a little bit. And it was really, I think it was really important that like right from the beginning of that cottage experience that Shane set the grounds for like that this is a safe container where no one, hypothetically, no one knows that we're here. No one is gonna intrude on us, and this is our time together, and to honor that and to respect that and to like make the most of it, like we're gonna both agree to be honest and to be vulnerable and to like see what this actually is and like see what this dynamic actually is. And they did.
I loved that we got to see that too when Shane immediately gets up to like shut the curtains.
Yes.
Ilya's like, no, leave them open. And
That
like
was hot.
pushes him against the glass. It's so hot. I also, as soon as Shane said, my parents think I'm at a silent retreat, I was like, oh no, something's gonna happen. They're gonna come over for something.
Which never give your parents a key to your house.
Never!
That's crazy.
Like what? No.
Crazy work. Crazy work.
But Shane really is he's really close with his parents, and I think it's beautiful, and they live really close, and like that is a realistic thing, right?
It is.
But
it
also,
is. I can
like,
see it happening.
For the sake of your privacy, you're a grown-ass adult. Don't give your parents the key to your house. Just tell them where the spare is or something. Like, oh my god. Especially if you're like having someone over that you're like trying to keep top secret. Like, god damn. Yeah. Okay. What do I have to say about the cottage? I loved when they made the fire and Ilya was like, what do we do? And Shane was like, we just sit here
And look at it. Didn't thought he's fun. Shut up.
And I think that creating of like a reason or like a space where they were just kind of sitting in silence together allowed the softening. Like you see Ilya kind of end up on Shane's lap and like it's just really softening. And like if you've ever sat around a bonfire, like you can literally just stare at the thing for hours. And I don't know, to me that scene felt like a melting moment of like all the hardness melting in a way, because you see in Shane's life in Russia that all of his social interaction with his friends and stuff is very like party based, you know, the drinking. It's like hard and kind of cold. And this fire was just very like, we're gonna sit here, we're not like drinking, we're not doing drugs, we're not anything. We're just sitting here with each other in a shared space, doing nothingness, essentially hanging out, right? Like we're just hanging out, being in each other's presence, and we get to really soften and just like be here.
See the love. There's so many acts of love in that cottage thing. So many acts of love, like the sharing of the mom, the softness, the tenderness, the revealing of Ilya being like, yeah, actually I've watched the cottage tour.
Yeah, that was so fun.
Like, and that's really surprising, Shane, that like, oh, you know where I do yoga in here? Like you know that I do yoga outside of my cottage? Like that, yeah, those moments were really revealing, because it was them playing their cards for sure.
Yeah. I also really liked that we got to see them just hanging out and like, you know, kicking a soccer ball around and like swimming and cooking and things like that. Like you just got to see them kind of vibing. It wasn't just, I mean, there was a lot of sex, which we love, but it wasn't all sex. It was like you get to just see them kind of becoming friends in a way, because they haven't really had this like downtime together before. It's been always like meet, fuck, hockey, leave. And so you just get to see them like, this is how we are when we just like hang out and coexist in space together.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. It's the hanging out versus catching up thing. It's like we're here, we're not rushed, we just get to be in each other's presence and see what it's like to be rather than to like I don't know, just be in front of each other. Like we just get to be around each other. I think that was really beautiful. I also do have to shout out that scene where he gives him head while he's on the phone.
I
loved that.
Loved
it reminded
that.
me of that YouTube series of women reading books while they're getting eaten out.
Oh my
Have you
God.
seen that?
No, but I need to.
It's like women reading books while getting eaten out, and they're trying to like go as long as they can reading the book before they can't read anymore. It's genius. It was very that. I loved that. I thought that was very fun. What do you think the purpose of the Hayden character was?
That's the friend, right?
Yeah, that's the one that calls him, and he like has all the kids and the wife and stuff.
That's interesting.
Because he was given quite a bit of screen time.
He was. I don't know. Maybe it was like showing Shane like what he could have, or like what he wants, or what he doesn't have, like that idea of family. It also, like, there was a lot of times where I think that Hayden's character was like pressuring Shane's character to find a girlfriend, being like, yeah, I don't know, maybe it was like just to show like the pressures that he was feeling to be in a straight relationship. Maybe there was something about that.
Because they make a point early on in the season, Hayden invites Shane over for dinner when their game gets canceled, and that's like a whole thing that happens. Like you see the snowstorm, Ilya can't come, so they don't get to fuck, and they had planned to fuck that night. And then Hayden is like, my wife would love to cook for you, like, do you want to come over for dinner? And it's like a whole thing, and they make a point to like emphasize that they're at Shane. This is happening. He goes to Hayden's house, and then there's multiple scenes with Hayden.
Yeah.
And then Hayden calls. So I'm wondering if that is like setting up for season 2, or what
maybe.
that is, because we didn't actually get like a moment with Hayden. Like it's not like Shane comes out to him, or like they have any sort of like really meaningful conversation. It's kind of a lot about like, yeah, wife, heteronormativity, blah, 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 blah. And maybe it's indicating to Shane what he doesn't want, actually, rather than what he does want.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it was just interesting. There was a moment where Shane was like, oh, do we both have to make your wife happy now? And he was like, yeah, happy wife, happy life kind of thing. Or he's like holding the baby at the aquarium and like that whole thing. It's just interesting. Maybe it is showing us that Shane wants that. I think we just like have to wait for season 2 to know what the Hayden of it all is all about, because
Agreed.
I was kind of like, why is this guy getting so much screen time?
Yeah.
Like it's not adding to my experience in any way, really.
True.
Except for the blowjob during the phone call.
That was
fierce.
hot. Loved that.
And then the coming out scene, how did you think that was handled?
So it's okay, Dad. I'm sorry, you shouldn't have found out that way.
Found out what, exactly?
I'm gay. Which I was going to tell you soon. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. And this is Ilya Rozanov, but you already know that. Right. He's visiting and we're, lovers. No, Ilya, that's gross.
But you hate him.
No. I mean, I get that, but no, I actually, I love him.
How do I feel about that scene? I mean, I liked it. It was nice. I feel like the dad kind of gave nothing.
Oh, yeah.
The dad totally gave nothing. I think that it was sad when the mom was like, I feel sad that like that you couldn't have done this earlier. You know what I mean?
And you didn't feel like you could tell me that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was like a very intense hockey mom. You know what I mean? But yeah, the dad gave nothing in that scene. The dad like could have not been there, and it would have been fine. I loved the whole, they're trying to have like a serious conversation, and Ilya's just like slamming down some pasta, like.
Do ba 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 do do ba do boo do a boo ba doo ba doo, boo boo ba doo.
Like, just like, this man can't be bothered. He's like, just eating this food. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was handled very realistically
I
when
agree.
they show up at the house and everybody's just kind of like, because like, my parents are still together for context, and that is exactly like when one knows the other knows, and then you walk in and you're just kind of like,
We're doing this.
Yeah, it's like both of them against you, and you're kind of just like, oh, okay. To walk in with Ilya was brave. I loved that Ilya was like, I'll come with you, and was like, seemed like he was really able to show up for Shane throughout
He was in it.
And even though, his family isn't like that, he was able to like be there and sit through that with Shane. I actually want to say that I think he was like eating some pasta, not because he can't be fucked, but because that was his way of regulating. Like, that was his way of like, this is uncomfortable, and like, I need something to do with my body to help me stay present, so I'm just gonna eat food. I've done that. Maybe not with food, but I mean, maybe probably with food, but like, the thing of like when you're at a party and you just have a drink because you want something in your hand, because otherwise you feel awkward, as opposed to just standing there. It's like a way to like regulate ourselves in an uncomfortable situation. So I actually think that's what that was for me anyway. I thought it was really tender that the mom was like, I can't believe you never did this before. She does say that we thought maybe you were gay, which is interesting because there's a couple episodes before, and obviously in the show this was years prior, where they were like pushing the like Swedish princess, things like that. But yeah, I think he was really worried to come out to his parents, and she acknowledges that she should have made it better, but I think that does speak to the dynamic that she's his manager and that being very work related, and so maybe there's an opportunity going forward for reparation in that relationship where they can be a bit closer now. I love the way when Shane kind of crashes out a bit and like puts his head on the table, and then Ilya is like so there to support him in front of his parents, kisses him, calls him his boyfriend.
Yeah.
We got robbed of the boyfriend sex. I do want to say that.
That was fucked up. It is fucked up that we did not get boyfriend sex. We did not get boyfriend debut sex. I was like, in the end credits, we were both like, surely they're gonna pull over the car and fuck.
Yeah, like
surely we're gonna get a scene like while the credits are rolling of them like freshly declaring that they're boyfriends, driving away from the cottage, and just like insatiably having sex on the side of the road, because like we were robbed.
Yeah, we were robbed. It was, oh my god, we haven't even talked about
the underwear.
So it was the two things that we got robbed of were boyfriend sex, and the way that Ilya doesn't sniff the underwear when Shane throws his underwear at Ilya when Ilya's watching him on the bed.
Yes.
What the fuck was that? That was a very big missed opportunity.
That Russian man would have smelled those underwear. I know it.
I think he should have put them in his mouth, honestly.
Correct.
I think that should have been a dirtier moment.
I think that he would have taken his underwear and put them in Shane's mouth.
Yeah!
He would have sniffed Shane's, but he would have taken off his and put them in Shane's mouth.
We haven't even really talked about the sex. I want to talk about that scene of watching. I fucking loved that, and I talk about this with clients all the time because there is often, it feels like a big leap to get from our masturbation practice to having a partner present while you masturbate. Like, that does feel like a big distance for a lot of people, because there's a lot of shame around like what I actually do when I'm alone versus what I do when you are there. Because there's a performance element, like the second someone else is there, we end up performing, and so it's different, and we don't experience as much pleasure when someone else is there because it's different and we're performing. And I loved that they just kind of slid that in as like because before we had the text conversation where he was like, if you win, this is what you get, but if I win, and he just sends a wink face, and then this is what he gets. And he just gets on the bed and just watches him, and it's actually so hot.
Yeah.
I really want to see more of like witnessed masturbation or like mutual masturbation in media, because it's such a beautiful experience. First of all, when you're in that process and you're the person being watched, you have to really go through the process of recognizing when you're performing and removing that and coming back to your body. And it'll come up again, right? Recognizing when you're performing and removing that and coming back to your body. Because if you're performing, you're not actually experiencing nearly as much pleasure as when you're just there for yourself, which is why it often feels so much different when someone's present and we touch ourselves. Even if we touch ourselves in the exact same way we would by ourselves, if we're performing, it feels different because we're not as present with the sensation. So that's one thing we get out of it. Another thing we get out of it is obviously visual pleasure. It's quite erotic to just like watch someone in their pleasure. But also I think the learning, like how does this person touch themselves? I can learn from that because that will give me more information about their pleasure and teach me how they want to be touched. We always touch other people the way we want to be touched unless we've been specifically asked for something, right? And we all touch people differently, and it's usually like if you're touching someone in some way, it's some way that you think would feel good based on what feels good for you. So watching someone else pleasure themselves gives us such a good indication of how this person actually wants to be touched. And then Ilya gets on the bed and they have a great time. What else in like the actual sex of it all stands out for you? The various positions. That was really nice. It was refreshing for gay media to not just be doggy.
Amen.
Like, that is not the only position. It's like so aggressively not. In fact, it's like not the easiest position to have anal play happen in. I mean, it's like, because it's the one we see most often, it's like the most obvious, but I loved that like every sex scene we got with Ilya and Shane and with Kip and Scott, there was different positions and variation. Yeah, completely agree. The variety was fierce, the passion was fierce, the chemistry was fierce. I just loved it. I can't wait to see them get like kinkier maybe in the season 2. Yeah.
Cause you know that Ilya is down. You know that he is.
Yeah, I'm curious, like now that the parents know, and the mom was kind of jumping right ahead to like the predictions and like what's gonna happen now, like are they gonna come out, that whole thing, like the plot line of them being like, maybe we could start a charity together, you're gonna move to Ottawa so that we'll be closer, and then we'll start a charity together, and then it'll make sense that we're together. Because I kind of kept forgetting, because I'm like not a hockey girl, obviously, that Boston and Montreal are like rivals, but they're actually like proper rivals. So they were trying to come up with a way similar to what I was saying that Kip and Scott should have done before going to the art gallery, like trying to co-create a way where they can both like be in this experience and make it make sense and stay regulated.
Also loved that one of the mom's first comments when the whole coming out happened was like, have you talked to Scott Hunter about this?
Yeah.
Because the mom immediately recognizing that like they're going through a very unique experience and like a very difficult experience that someone who they are presumably friends with or at least colleagues with for at that time at least 10 years has just actively gone through the exact same thing. And I thought that was very fierce advice for her to be like, hey, have you like talked to this person who is honestly probably the only actual person on this planet that can like really relate to what you're going through right now and like help you through this and like guide you through this and give you some advice about this. I loved that, and I really hope that we get to see what that conversation looks like in season 2. Like to just like have more of a dialogue between these people. I also think it would be, I really hope that they don't make it like a thing where they're like poly or they're like doing something with like that I just hope to see like gay friendship also portrayed.
Alliance.
Yes, exactly on season 2. Would love some poly representation, but I also just think that like it would be really cool to see these people that have like such a shared experience find some friendship together.
Community. Yeah, it doesn't have to be just fucking. Going back again to like being queer isn't just about like fucking. It's about community. Actually, a big part of it is about community.
Like, how cute would it be if like Kip takes them all to his little gay bar that he turned into a hockey bar?
Aww.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just like I see so many like really cute like moments that could happen with those 4 characters, and I really hope that we do get that.
One more thing I did want to touch on about the sex thing that I just remembered, the sex of it all, was the way that you see in multiple different scenes one character asking the other, can I fuck you? That, first of all, when people say consent ruins the mood, that is here's proof that it does not ruin the mood.
Yeah.
It is so hot to ask a question like that. Can I kiss you? Can I touch you? Can I fuck you? It's so great. It's also really beautiful to see like consent representation in media, but then also the response and like the random kind of moments that it happens at. I don't know, I just thought that was really wonderful to see like representation and examples of how like having consent and then having consent check-ins along the way, like, is this okay? How does this feel?
Especially the first time that he bottomed. The first time that Shane actually bottomed for a man, like Ilya was actually very attentive and like very like sweet to check in.
Yeah, it's really good to see that. I think we need more of that in media, specifically queer media. We need to see how, because also too, like, if for example like these two are, well, actually wasn't that clear. Like, I was assuming that Scott was topping, but then at one point Kip asks, can I fuck you?
Correct.
So I'm actually wondering if they're more of a switch dynamic.
It gave that.
It gave that to
me.
me.
It gave First Queen.
And when that is kind of the dynamic that you're playing with, then there does have to be a bit of like some sort of like, okay, we're establishing like who's doing what. It doesn't have to be that black and white. Like, you don't have to be like, for this next 20 minutes, you know, I'm topping. But I liked that they included like the clarification around that. I don't know, it just felt really nice and refreshing to see that on a screen.
I totally agree. One last thought that I really do feel like I need to get off my chest about this show. This is a PSA to all of you gay boys watching. First of all, it needs to be acknowledged that there is an element to this show that is deeply, deeply, deeply sad to see that it takes these people 10 years, maybe more, to like come out and live their truth and like to actually like choose to be aligned with happiness and to like live their honesty. I think that is a plot line of this show that maybe is under discussed, just like how sad it is to like witness someone live in the closet for 10 plus years. That is like a really hard thing to watch and like to observe. And then now my PSA for all of you gay boys, I love this show. I love the like the passion. I love that you get to see the win of them like coming out to each other and then like becoming boyfriends. But the
so
PSA
nice to see it.
is gay men do not expect the DL man on Grindr that you are talking to one day miraculously decide that he wants to be your boyfriend and your husband, and that you're gonna just like keep fucking this DL guy on Grindr for 10 years with the hopes that he's gonna love you and fall in love with you.
Go off.
It's not gonna happen. Don't waste your time. Don't waste his time. Have higher expectations for yourself and the people that you're intimate with. Like, don't let yourself be stonewalled by a DL straight acting dude for 10 years. It's not okay. It's actually not cool. It's actually not romantic. And that is like my only criticism of the show, is that like I really don't think that like gay men already like really fetishize and fantasize for this like idea of like the straight lover, or like turning the straight man, or like being with DL guys. And like, honestly, 2026, we need to leave that behind. Like, there's space for guys to be like, for men to be experimenting, figuring it out, and that's totally valid and that's totally fine. And like, to be DL and not want to like declare to the world like what your sexuality is, that's fine. But like, if that's who you are, don't be fucking stringing people along for 10 years, having intimate relationships with them in secret. it's never going to work out. They are not going to fall in love with you, and this is your PSA to get. Oh, I know there's someone listening who needs to hear this. The DL man that you are fucking is not going to love you.
Ooh.
Move on.
Oh.
Move on and find someone who is ready to be brave enough to love you. Period. So that's the that on that.
That's the that on that. Oh God, it's so real. Yeah, you're right. That hasn't been talked about enough. It does literally take them 10 years. I think we get the conversation of the timeline with the parents, but like I haven't seen much conversation around that on media, and it's so important and it's so real. We cannot romanticize the fact that it took these people 10 years to get to the point where they're able to use each other's first names. That is not what we want. It's very, it's like the Disney princess of it all. Like, it's not romantic, it's not cute, it's not. It's the same with the Ilya avoidance thing. Like, it's not romantic, it's not cute. Like, we should not be normalizing and romanticizing fucked up dynamics and having to tolerate things that don't feel right for 10 plus years. We can create space for someone to figure it out and be welcoming and accepting when they do want to explore, but that is very different than believing that your DL man is gonna become your husband.
Exactly. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, and you gay boys need to hear that.
Tea. Okay, season 2 predictions.
Season 2 predictions, I think that Scott's gonna retire from hockey.
Ooh.
I think that we're gonna see Scott pull out of the hockey world, and I think that we're gonna see a really interesting new life for him emerge with Kip. I think that they're gonna there's gonna be a focus on them building something together that's really beautiful, and I think that we're gonna fall in love with their plotline even more. Also, context, I haven't read the second book. I don't know what happens in the second book.
She hasn't written it yet.
Oh, hasn't she? I thought that she has 7 books.
Yeah.
See, this is how little I know about these books.
But there's 7 books, but they're all different characters. And the Shane and Ilya plot line, she's continuing a book that she's currently writing.
That's for the 3rd book, I think.
Okay.
So from what I understand is that there's 2 books about the Shane and Ilya thing, and then there's more books, and then now she's writing another book to come back to Shane and Ilya. But also, that's what Twitter told me. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, if anybody else that's listening knows more, please tell us in the comments.
Yes, please. So I'm predicting that for Scott and Kip. I think that we're gonna see this charity thing manifest, but I think that it's still gonna have the mental health thing. I think that was really beautiful, but I think it's obviously gonna be rooted in maybe something for queer youth. I think that would be really cool. One of the things that I would love to see, my biggest ask for season 2, justice for these women characters.
Yeah.
We have spent a season developing and falling in love with these women who are such great characters and deserve so much love that my biggest hope, dream, and want for season 2 is to also see these fabulous women characters celebrated and experiencing love in a way that they absolutely have capacity for and that they absolutely deserve. So that's my season 2 want.
Oh, I wonder if any of the existing characters are going to get with Rose.
I hope
maybe
so.
That's why we've been seeing so much of Hayden. Ooh, maybe he gets a divorce.
Rose would be a great stepmom.
Yeah, it's true. Although she's busy.
That's true.
Yeah, my predictions are that we need to see more of Kip and Scott. I really want to see more of Kip and Scott. I really want to see that Ilya and Shane living very close to each other, but still being in secret and navigating what that's like. It'll also be interesting to see them because neither of them were seeming too enthusiastic about the idea of coming out right away like
Correct.
the mom was. So I wonder if there's going to be a bit of push-pull with the mom, really trying to get them to come out. I'm also curious about, she was really starting to talk about, the PR strategy around it. And I'm wondering if there's going to be, some showcasing and some tokenizing happening.
Oh, I'm sure.
Where, she, twists that from a PR angle because she's, momager.
Yeah.
If she, twists that from a PR angle and, tokenizes it and, spectacleizes it almost, because then that would get some pushback. And, that would create some tension in their dynamic as well if they do come out. Yeah, and then also Ilya's evil brother. Like, is he
Yeah.
gonna have a redemption arc? What do you
I
think?
hope not. I hope that they just leave the Russia behind. I hope that they're just like, because also that honestly kind of would be realness. I feel like if he comes out, either they would try to blackmail. They can't really blackmail him anymore because he's out. And I feel like he would just be, like, the realness is that he would just be disowned and abandoned by his family and society in Russia. Like, I feel like that is kind of realness.
My prediction is his brother's gonna get sick and he's gonna have to go back for something.
Ooh, that's a
my
good prediction. That is a
Someone's
very
gonna
good
get
prediction.
sick and he's gonna have to like navigate going back to Russia being an out hockey player, and we're gonna get to witness what that's like.
I think
And
that's
Shane's
a good
gonna
one.
go with him.
Love this.
And they're gonna
Love
have
this.
forbidden Russia sex.
Also, please, Canadian government, fund more than 6 fucking episodes
My
for season 2.
Lordy Lord. I mean, okay, the way that this has popped off, I mean, it was quite low budget.
Yeah.
The way that this has, it was also taxpayer dollars.
Also, season 2, I need a Carly Rae Jepsen original song featured on the soundtrack. I need it.
Didn't you already say?
It's been in the works. So Jacob Tierney said that he wanted Carly Rae Jepsen to do music for season 1, but knew that she was not in the budget, which correct. But they have connected. They're like following each other on Instagram now. It's a whole thing. She's made a comment. I want Carly Rae Jepsen. I want Miley Cyrus. Perhaps a Demi Lovato.
Oh.
A Lil Nas X feature.
Oh. Yeah.
That's what I need.
I'm into it.
I need stars doing the music. I need budget. I need production, and I need, please God, more than 6 episodes.
Here's what I will say. I will lose it if they start bringing Taylor Swift into it. I'm sorry.
Amen.
No tea, no shade, but also tea and shades.
Stay out of here, Republican Barbie.
Listen, after the summer I turned pretty, that was literally just a Taylor Swift music video, the entire series. I actually first of all, never wanted to hear a Taylor Swift song before that. Never want to hear another Taylor Swift song in my life. Like, I actually am just so over it. Plus, remember when she had her, like, I can't remember what year it was when Shake It Off came out, but she had like all the queens in her music video and she tried to be queer aligned, and it just like, that was a flop, Tina, even though so many gays are into her. I just like do not think after doing The Summer I Turned Pretty, her music should be in a gay show. That's just, no. Leave it out. Do not fucking put Taylor Swift in this show, Canadian government. I will denounce my Canadian passport.
Yeah. Yeah.
I won't, but I will, in theory. All right.
I feel like I've yapped, I've talked my shit.
Yeah, okay, so that's what we thought about Heated Rivalry. Let us
Yeah.
know what you think. We're going to the cottage.
We're going to the cottage.
I'm going to the cottage.